So this is a show that I have been waiting for all week long since WWE got fans back on a consistent basis. And we've had now 3 shows with fans there, thousands of people in attendance. I have been wondering, what do the listeners think? What do you guys think about what's been going on? There's 100 different things that we could discuss. Returns, Finn Balor's return, of course, Goldberg's return, Keith Lee's re-debut, Karrion Kross, Big E's victory at Money in the Bank, becoming Mr. Money in the Bank, Nikki Cross cashing in on Charlotte, and just so much more. I mean, guys, it's not even touching the tip of the iceberg here. John Cena, of course. What do you guys think about all this? And I can't wait to hear and talk to you guys about my reaction to it as well and hear your voices in our voicemail portion. So let's get everything rolling. Have you ever wanted to visit a pro wrestling museum? If there are none in your area, now there's a museum you can visit from anywhere. Check out the Pro Wrestling Mini Museum featuring autographs, ring-worn memorabilia, and more. Go to pwmuseum.net. That's pwmuseum.net. Facebook and Instagram, you can find them at pwmuseum, and on Twitter at pwmuseum1. So if you're looking for a great birthday gift, an anniversary gift, or the just because gift, then check out shopguru.in. They have free shipping. They're original products, original brands. There's fashion, gadgets, accessories, hobbies, household supplies, shoes, and a ton more. Again, they do have free shipping. There's a money-back guarantee, a 100% money-back guarantee. There's online support that you can click on and get a hold of somebody if you have any questions. So don't waste any time, guys. If you need that last-minute gift, the birthday gift, the anniversary gift, the just because, whatever it may be, head to shopguru.in. That's shopguru.in today.
Welcome to the WWE Podcast, your #1 source for the latest in WWE news and straightforward analysis.
Are you ready to get this thing going?
Give me a hell yeah! I said give me a hell yeah!
Then let's get this show started right now.
All right, it is time for the WWE Podcast Mailbag, where you guys get a chance to voice your opinions. And man, I think there are going to be 1 or 2 opinions this week, especially considering the massive amount of news coming out of this week. And I can't say we didn't expect it. We all knew that this time was upon us, and the Thunderdome era was gracefully coming to a close, and that we knew there were big returns and storylines that were right around the corner, and yep, we got it. Money in the Bank proved that, and then it solidified that on Monday Night Raw with a cash-in, of course, with a big return of Goldberg, Keith Lee coming back, Karrion Kross coming up, Edge making his return a few weeks back. I mean, so there are quite a few stories that are relevant, and I'll be very interested to hear what you guys have to say. I have not listened to any of the voicemails. I have seen a few emails come across, so I'm pretty much going into this blind, which kind of makes it fun. I didn't have any responses prepared. It's just me responding in real time and reading these in real time with you. So one other thing, everyone, if you are new to this show, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Hit that subscribe button and get yourself an ad-free experience. And you can head on over to Patreon and do the same thing. And one cool thing, we were able to secure a cameo with Drew McIntyre, where he gave this show a shout out and just kind of gave us an introspective into what he was doing in his younger years. And it's pretty cool. It was about a 2.5-minute cameo that was just pretty damn cool to hear Drew McIntyre talk about the show and everything else, and give a shout out to all of our great co-hosts who make this show possible. It's not just me. Trust me. This is not being built by one person. It's definitely a group effort, and we were able to secure that and give some shout outs where they're deserved. So if you're interested in watching that video and learning a little bit more about Drew McIntyre, then head on over to my Twitter feed. I posted it there. It's at wrestling_audio. And the video is right on my timeline, should be right up at the top. So, all right. I think we certainly have enough to talk about tonight, and getting to your questions and rants, I'm sure, and everything in between. So let's not waste any more time and jump right into our Patreon mailbag. First, as you know, patrons get priority placement in our shows, particularly for the mailbag. So if you're interested in that and you want to just get your question right up front, then join Patreon. Another reason to head on over there. But okay, let's go to Jim. And Jim Hansford writes in, a wonderful patron on our show, and says, I watched Money in the Bank live and thought it was a great show. I'm really excited to hear your thoughts on the show, and I was wondering when you will put the review show up. Well, I'm assuming this wasn't supposed to be part of the mailbag, but I'll answer it right now. It should be up already. It is up with the Botch Guy. YouTube's the Botch Guy. It is now live. Wonderful guest, wonderful co-host, just a great overall guy. And support his channel, guys. Head on over to the Botch Guy if you want. Just entertaining as hell. He is just such a great energy and so authentic. Head on over there. But Jim, it should be up. If you don't see it or you're having issues, let me know. So, all right. How about that? I answered a question that probably wasn't supposed to be for the mailbag, but nonetheless, Jim, shout out to you, my friend. All right. This one is for the mailbag. It even says so I can't screw this up. Excuse me, from Nathan. And Nathan Palmer writes from the Patreon side and says, this is Nathan from Sydney writing in for this week's mailbag show. See, I'm not screwing up, guys. Hello to you, Matt, and fellow listeners. It's been a while since you've heard from me on the mailbag, but I've been listening to every show, and I'm loving it. Well done to you and your team. Well, thank you. I just wanted to open this message by saying WWE is back. These last 3 shows have made watching all the rubbish for the last 18 months worth it. SmackDown, Money in the Bank, and Raw were all 10 out of 10 shows for me. I don't know if they can keep this good content up consistently, but I'm definitely loving it right now. I want to discuss with you Charlotte Flair and her title reigns. I think this recent one with her was her 12th. I think it was actually 11. I'm fairly sure she said 11, but I'll double check. She likes to include her NXT title reigns in there, so she'll tell you 14. This one in particular, I wasn't against. It made sense for her to win the title at Money in the Bank, but she held it for just 24 hours, and it's another accolade to her resume. Just off the top of my head, I can think of 3 incredibly short reigns of hers. 2019, the week before WrestleMania, when she took the title off Asuka and then dropped it a week later to 2 belts Becky. Then at the Money in the Bank the same year, she pinned Becky for the title. Then Bayley cashed in on Charlotte 2 minutes later. Now this reign of 24 hours. I'm too young to remember if her dad Rick had short title reigns like this, but I don't see it as an achievement. For me, I see something like CM Punk's 434-day reign as way more of an achievement as 7 or 8 short title reigns, but that's just me. Nathan, no, it's not just you. I know you have a little bit more to your email here. I'll get to it in a second. It's not just you. I think long title reigns are something of a lost art at times. I know Roman Reigns is on a long one. Sheamus is, I guess, on an extended one in terms of today's standards, although he's been forgotten as United States champion. You know, there are times, I remember that the Street Profits held tag titles for quite a few months during the pandemic era. You know, I think that long title reigns are something of the past, and there are few exceptions for it today. There are exceptions. Like I said, Roman Reigns. It's much more impactful to have a championship be held by an individual for a longer period of time than the championship changing hands so frequently. There's that old saying of the championship doesn't make the man makes the championship, or woman, right? So I'm not a fan of it either, but there are times for it. There are stories that need to be told where short championship reigns happen. I just think it happens sometimes too frequently. I'm even more concerned, though. I thought about this week, is Charlotte when she gets to her 16th women's championship title reign. I'm sure she'll reference her father, and that'd probably happen in the next, I don't know, couple of years. I'd say in the next 2 years, she'll probably hit that 16th championship as women's champion, including the Divas. So what do we think about that, right? How about that? Toss that back to you. Okay, back to your email, Nathan. Here's another fun fact. Besides the first year of 2017, where Carmella held the women's Money in the Bank briefcase for 9 months, every year since then, the holder of the briefcase has cashed in within 24 hours. Alexa in 2018, Bayley in 2019, Asuka in 2020, and Nikki in 2021. All held the case for no longer than 24 hours. I really didn't even know that, Nathan. Thank you for pointing it out. I knew this stat going into Raw, so it wasn't a shock to me that Nikki came out. Not sure if you guys noticed, but she came out really early. Rhea hadn't even hit the riptide yet on Flair, and Nikki's music hit. It was bizarre. I did not notice that, and I did not notice or remember about the cash-ins for the women, which we were told are 100%, I guess, effective, or 100% success rate with the women's side of the briefcase. With the men's, it's around 80% of success rate, and with the women, it's 100%, albeit the women's have a much smaller sample size because they weren't around for the majority of the Money in the Bank briefcase matches up until the last couple of years. But Nathan, very, very astute and very, very good. You're like a wrestling historian right now. You're making me look foolish. I mean that complimentary. One thing I would like to see from WWE is a bit of consistency when it comes to the cash-ins. Sometimes the referee doesn't ring the bell until the injured champion can stand and make sure they're ready to go. Other times they just ring the bell while they're flat on their back. But that's just me picking up on stuff that I probably shouldn't care about. No. Nathan. Don't ever apologize to yourself for caring about details when it comes to wrestling. Now, there are things that you can always nitpick, and it's just a matter of what hill do you want to die on? You don't want to go through every little thing, but this is not a big thing, not a small thing. Because if you're carrying a championship opportunity at any time in your hands, then there should be no hesitation. To me, there should be none, right? I shouldn't even have to hear from the announcer, but it's just part of the production, so we do. To me, the announcer announcing that so-and-so is cashing in is wasting time, very precious time. And oftentimes we see like they're going to cash in, like the Miz was teasing cashing in, and they couldn't get quite to the bell ringing. And it was that gap of time of like 30 seconds to a minute. It's like, dude, what the hell's going on? Like, why isn't the bell ringing? What is the holdup? And to me, there should be no delay. The second that competitor, the winner of the Money in the Bank, hands the briefcase to the referee, the bell should ring. Period. End of subject. It would make it much more exciting instead of having that awkward like minute period of time where you're not sure if they're going to cash in. Is it a failed cash in? What's going on? No, Nathan, you're correct. I've said this, I don't even know when, probably months ago, but it is just, it is a weird thing, right? It's not nitpicking. It's not. So I do wonder what they are going to do with the Raw Women's Championship for SummerSlam. Nikki isn't in a feud with anyone, and they're going into such a big pay-per-view with such a stacked card. It's going to be hard to build a feud in such small time. I hope they do a fatal four-way with Nikki, Rhea, Charlotte, and Becky. Before I get to your last point about something really funny that I'm glad you brought up, I will say this. I thought about that too. I thought that, well, yeah, they're going to clearly stick Nikki in some kind of multi-woman match, and I think they will. Here's where I would differ from your proposal. It's taking Becky out of this. If Becky's returning, I don't want her stuck and, I guess, hidden in a women's championship match more than just herself and her opponent. I don't need other people drowning out the return of one of the biggest women's stars in WWE history. The first woman ever to main event WrestleMania, right? And I think win the main event at WrestleMania. And to me, she shouldn't be drowned out or diluted. There's the word I was looking for. I should just have a freaking thesaurus in front of me. I don't want her diluted with other competitors in the match. It should just be one-on-one. That's, to me, where Becky Lynch should live. And if they are going to do a multi-woman match at SummerSlam, I would say that don't bring Becky back. And maybe we won't see Becky until the Monday Night Raw after. Or at SummerSlam. I can't see Becky not being a part of SummerSlam, given that it's in front of 65,000 people in Vegas. I can't see her not at least showing up to lay somebody out and the crowd losing their minds. That's what I think is a better option than having her just diluted into a multi-woman match. The focus should be on her, not other people in the match, right? If there's 4 people, I think it gets a little bit much. It's a crowded ring. Okay, the last thing I want to say is welcome back Oldberg. That's right, Oldberg. I don't know how I didn't think of that. Last January, he rocks up, tells Drew he isn't the type of man to come out and demand a title shot, but respectfully challenges Drew. 7 months later, he comes out and demands he's next. Makes sense. I do hate that he's back, but listen, if Brock was their first option and couldn't get him, then who else? Makes sense that he's back. Bring it on. Thanks for reading. Yeah, it is Oldberg. I'm trying not to repeat myself so much with Goldberg. I respect the man. I think that he is a absolute, just a huge part of WCW and the Monday Night Wars and WCW Monday Night Nitro. I understand all that. I respect what he's done, but it's 2021, guys. Why are we still cheering for an extremely limited moveset individual that was limited even in his prime? And it's not because of age. It's just that's the way he's always been. To then also have him come out and just demand title matches because he's Goldberg. It's ridiculous. I hope the crowd destroys him. Guys, I'm begging you in Vegas, please tell WWE that they've got this all wrong with Goldberg. At least if you're going to bring him back, make him heel, for God's sakes. Thanks, Nathan. All right, let's get to our next one here. And this is Jim in New York, our next patron here, and says, I was watching WWE Legends Night Raw from January last night. You know, where the WWE champ beat Keith Lee, and then Goldberg came out to challenge him right after. Goldberg, whose last match was a losing effort for a world title, comes back and immediately gets put into a title match at one of the big 5 pay-per-views. Or wait, was that this week's Raw? WWE booking at its finest. Well, Jim, at the risk of repeating myself, yeah, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I mean, Goldberg, you know, I would be okay with Goldberg if it wasn't in a match capacity or for a championship. If Goldberg was just to come back and just lay somebody out with a spear and just do his like crazy angry face, fine, right? If he wants to go backstage and bang his head on a locker and then end up having to, you know, cover the blood on Monday Night Raw like he did the one time, I'm fine. Like, I just don't want him in an actual program with somebody that we know is not going to, it's going to be a very limited match. And you know what? Bobby Lashley is going to be the one to suffer here because how with Goldberg so limited in his moveset, that by default limits what Bobby Lashley can do in the ring. So you know you're not going to get a good match. You're just not. I don't want to hear anything else from anybody. It's not going to be a quote good match. So it's going to have to be about the story. They're going to be very quick. It's going to be finish, spear versus spear, blah, blah, blah. We've got it. We've heard it before. So yeah. All right. Well, Jim, I don't know what more to say, but yeah. So thanks as always, though. You're much appreciated. Alrighty, let's get to, I believe this is our final patron email for the week, and then we'll get to all you regulars out there. I'm turning heel, I know. All right. Jeez, Randy, you're killing me. You're killing me. You say Goldberg. I'm so excited that he's back. Not very, very 1997 of you, Randy. Very 1997. I don't think I've said not in a long time. He needs to get his old you-know-what out of here. I'm tired of him. But when Keith Lee came out, I really thought it was going to be a feud with them, and it wasn't. It was Goldberg, but it wasn't Goldberg, but I was wrong. Glad Keith Lee is back. Now I just want to say, Amanda the Wizard, you did a great job. I enjoyed your opinions with Matt. Definitely would love to hear you again. Yes, I agree. It was a blast with Amanda Jin, who did an excellent job with the Raw review, and definitely will be joining us at some point in the future. Again, guys, I'm having a second baby, so my wife is, I'm not, right? So, but although it's today's world, who knows? Some people believe that men can have kids, so hey, we'll leave it at that. I don't know what my schedule is, guys. Obviously, we have people covering all the shows and things like that, but I will be Definitely back as soon as possible here. I'll be craving sitting here. I'll say that. I'll be dying to come and sit in front of my microphone and talk wrestling rather than changing diapers and getting no sleep. I'm not complaining. It's a blessing, no doubt. But I'm sure I'll need a change of pace. So whenever I come back after I'm gone for I don't know how long, maybe a week, 2 weeks, maybe less, maybe more, just know that when I come back, it's going to be my therapy. So, but yes, Amanda, I don't know how the hell I got on that, but Amanda did a great job. So thank you. I'm sure she also enjoys the compliments. Let's move on. Okay, so now I'm sorry, but I'm glad Charlotte lost. I'm still tired of her being champ. I know she is the, quote, best, but she should have not won in the first place. I know you don't agree, Matt. I'd rather see Rhea first, Becky, then Charlotte. However, I was happy Nikki cashed in. I got so excited, but as far as the gimmick, I don't know what they're going to do from here. John Cena is back. I'm so excited, and I can't wait for the promos to see how Roman does now. Last thing, holy chair shots, Batman. Come on. That was way too much. Like, are you trying to hurt him? Didn't agree with that at all. That's it for today, Randy. Well, Randy, thank you for the email in your message and being a supporter of the show. It is much appreciated. And I will say, yeah, that was a lot from Drew McIntyre. You know, I will say is it really deserving? You know, I thought about that, and I think I talked with Amanda about this last night. That was so many chair shots that it was, even though they're heels, you almost start to sympathize with the heel because it was too much, and it wasn't deserved on Veer or Shanky, which one that was, because it wasn't Jinder, who's the kingpin. You want to see him get his ass kicked, but at the same time, he's been in programs, Drew that is, that have warranted a reaction like this that we didn't get, and yet we see him snap here. And you know what? Maybe it's just an evolution of the character, and I think that it is. And Drew, in his cameo to the podcast, did talk about that the fans are starting to get to see a different side of Drew with humor and snapping. And he says he loves when his character's able to snap because it shows a new side of viciousness. And could this be the start of a heel turn? I think that was brought up too. Not by him, but on the show. Could this be planting the seeds for a heel turn? What do you guys think? For a Drew McIntyre heel turn? That would be very interesting. I don't know. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just showing us his vicious side. But I don't know. Some food for thought, no doubt. All right, let's take a quick break. And then after the break, we get to dive into everyone else's emails and then the beloved voicemails. And we've got a lot of them tonight, guys, as expected, with a pay-per-view week, with fans back. It seems like things are back to normal. So let's take a quick break and give some love to the sponsors of the show, and then we'll be right back. Have you ever wanted to visit a pro wrestling museum, but there are none in your area? Now there's a museum you can visit from anywhere. Check out the Pro Wrestling Mini Museum, featuring autographs, ring-worn memorabilia, and more. Go to pwmuseum.net. That's pwmuseum.net. Facebook and Instagram, you can find them at pwmuseum, and on Twitter at pwmuseum1. So if you're looking for a great birthday gift, an anniversary gift, or the just because gift, then check out shopguru.in. They have free shipping. There are original products, original brands. There's fashion, gadgets, accessories, hobbies, household supplies, shoes, and a ton more. Again, they do have free shipping. There's a money-back guarantee, a 100% money-back guarantee. There's online support that you can click on and get a hold of somebody if you have any questions. So don't waste any time, guys. If you need that last-minute gift, the birthday gift, the anniversary gift, the just because, whatever it may be, head to shopguru.in. That's shopguru.in today.
Welcome back to the WWE Podcast. Let's get back to more great wrestling audio.
All right, well, let's keep things moving and jump into our beloved emails. Now, I will say, Terry from Tennessee, last week, your email I missed, and that is my bad. So, Terry, I apologize for missing it last week. Please don't take that as a slight. I missed it after I posted the show. So please feel free to send us another email if you so choose. But let's jump to our first email that came to us from Dennis. Dennis O'Brien writes in, says, "How are you? I enjoyed SmackDown back with the fans. I'm enjoying the slow development of Otis's new character, who I thought about a year ago was boring and annoying. I'm happy Finn Balor is back, and I think his upcoming feud with Sami Zayn will be great if booked right. But they will have great matches together. Hope my email makes sense. I'm drunk." Okay, I didn't see that. That's okay. Very hard right turn, Dennis. Hilarious right turn, I gotta say. And well, first of all, I hope you had fun. Whatever you're doing. I mean, I guess when you get drunk, you email wrestling podcasts. I'll take it. It was pretty well done for being drunk, I gotta say. I did kind of fill in the blanks for some run-on sentences and help you out, but in general, for being drunk, I gotta give you an A for effort. So, okay, well, your question or your feedback regarding Otis's new character, I agree that Otis is in a completely different place right now, and in a great place, I think, comparatively to where he was, as you said, a year ago, doing his roly-poly, tucky and obsession with food, and Vince putting him in shirts that are 8 sizes too small and emphasizing his stomach, and isn't he just so holly jolly and just wonderful. It's now a serious Otis shaving his face and saying he's going to destroy people. It's great. It's great. And Finn Balor coming back and facing Sami Zayn. How can you have a bad match with these two? Is it even possible? Like if they tried to have a bad match, is it scientifically possible? I don't think so. I think that WWE knows what they have here. They have 2 veterans that were in NXT together. They have wrestled before. So I think that this is going to be a great wrestling program. It may not be great in terms of story, but I think that WWE is looking at this going, the story doesn't need to be deep and multi-dimensional, because we're going to rely on them to just kill it in the ring and tell their story there. And they are right. I think these two are going to absolutely kill it in the ring. I'd be shocked if they didn't. At the same time, you could point to this and say that's lazy booking by just having 2 guys are good in the ring, but you guys are too lazy to develop a good backstory for them so people get emotionally invested. But I guess I'm prejudging this because we haven't seen anything pan out yet. We have not seen anything pan out, but I think I've seen WWE long enough to know with 2 guys at this level, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. I think both are they're in the mid-upper card, but I don't think they're going to put in they're not going to go into overtime and try to produce a really well-written story arc for these two. I have a feeling that's not going to be the case. But so yes, Dennis, thank you so much, and sober up. Good stuff. I just have to say, I'm kind of glad maybe you didn't send a voicemail, right? I mean, or maybe not, depending on what kind of drunk you are. There's a lot of sloppy drunk people, but there's some fun ones too. All right, let's see here. What is next, or who is next? We have Owen South. Owen writes in, and he says, "I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to bring some negativity today, as I'm not happy at all with this week." Wow. Okay, and you sent this on Tuesday. So that means you've seen SmackDown, you've seen Money in the Bank, and you've had a Monday Night Raw with returns and all the re-debuts and all that. So, okay, I'm very interested to see what you have to say. Again, I have not read any of this yet. So, you said I'll start with the positives. Money in the Bank had some very good matches. The Usos versus the Mysterios match stood out for me. Cena's return is exciting as hell. His self-awareness and experience on the mic is making me believe he'll be well received all the way until SummerSlam. That's where it ends, honestly. Wow, okay. All right, well, you had some good things, so it's not all doom and gloom for you, Owen. Okay, Big E winning the men's Money in the Bank does not excite me at all. Yes, he's a world-class wrestler and a great guy, but I can't get behind him until he drops any and all association with the New Day. I'm going to be straight up with everyone. That's not going to happen. Just look at WWE's YouTube after his win. The New Day were all there with Big E, including Kofi, who had almost been killed in the ring, which shows how much he's meant to care. Okay, then you go on with another topic. Your point about Big E, and I have a feeling of this is going to come up too several times throughout the podcast or the show tonight. And I will also preface this by saying, if you're new here and you have not listened to the mailbag before, it's inevitable you're going to get repeating topics and repeating questions. So as we continue here, I may not give a full-fledged, fleshed-out answer for similar questions simply because I don't want to repeat myself. So I think that makes sense. I want to give that up front. But Big E, I agree. I couldn't agree more. Big E does not excite me as an extension of the New Day that they will not, for some reason, disassociate him from. For whatever reason, they made him a single star, but yet still are attaching him to a team, a faction. Why? It's so counterintuitive. It's so counterproductive, I should say, to break somebody out that you know could be a star from a team or a tag team, and then still having them wear the gimmick or do the gimmick, wear the colors, cut a promo just as they did as when they were a part of that group or team. Tell me how that is progressing the character. Exactly. I agree. And I think Big E has a lot of potential. He showed some signs of being able to cut serious promos. It started to change his character a little around WrestleMania against Apollo Crews, and then it reverted right back to the comfort zone for WWE. I couldn't agree more. And yeah, as far as Kofi Kingston, I mean, why he was there with Big E, I'm not going to get into it. Let's move on. Nikki Ash. You mean ASH? They don't even say Ash anymore. I don't know why. So you say WWE. Why? Firstly, the women's Money in the Bank. As I said last week, I wanted Liv to win, but I would have loved to see what Alexa could have done with it. But no, they had to give it to Nikki. For what reason? Her build up to this match has been fluke victories and tag team matches. Her character is honestly so cringy and unwatchable. I sat there thinking about how we will have to watch her more and more now that she has the briefcase. I can't lie, I was not happy at all. The next day on Raw, however, my mind was swept away from this in the form of in awe of how good Charlotte was in Money in the Bank on that episode of Raw. Her build felt fantastic. The fans' reactions were very good. Everything felt right again. I agree. When Charlotte won, guys, it did feel like everything was back to a higher, it had elevated itself to a level that we had expected from the women's division. And you can't tell me that I'm wrong on that. Whether you like Charlotte or you don't, her talent is undeniable. And when she won the women's championship, I was like, all right, well, here we go. Everything seems to be back to normal. Fans back, Charlotte champion. And I do get sick of Charlotte as champion. I did before she got injured a couple of years ago, and when Nia Jax injured her. But I have to say it just felt right. It did. So you continue. I don't mean to interrupt you. Then Nikki's music hit. To be honest, I smiled. In my head, I was thinking Charlotte would defeat her, therefore cementing herself as the woman to beat just before Becky returns. But no. Of course, WWE had to F it up, as always. Where do they even go from here? Surely Becky can't come back to fight Nikki. That keeps me holding on to the belief that Charlotte will quickly retain. If not, the women's division will be unwatchable. I think you mean quickly regain. But yes, I agree. So I wouldn't say the women's division's unwatchable, particularly when you have Charlotte, Flair at the top, even though she doesn't have the championship. And you have a returning Becky Lynch, Rhea Ripley to some degree. When she's in a match with Charlotte is otherworldly. On the mic, I'm not a big fan of Rhea Ripley right now, but you do have talent there, but it is a little bit muddy when you have a champion that has had exactly 0 credible wins on her way to winning the briefcase and winning the women's Money in the Bank. She followed the story arc of a heel without being a heel, right? You get these fluke victories after fluke victory after fluke victory. And she's supposed to be this lovable underdog that continues to get victories, but you're not taking her seriously. And yet we still shouldn't be taking her seriously because every victory she's ever had has come at her, when her opponent is either not paying attention or is down, therefore cashing in and taking their championship when they're extremely vulnerable. I really have yet to see Nikki Cross or Nikki Ash, Nikki. I'll just call her Nikki because she's had 3 different names in the last 3 weeks. Nikki has yet to show me that she can actually have a credible victory. What do I mean by a credible victory? I mean hitting your finish and winning. End of story. And by the way, if her finish is a crossbody, I didn't really talk about that on Raw, where Nikki won with a crossbody. Is that supposed to be the pun? Oh, it's a crossbody. I used to be Nikki Cross. Or am I a superhero pretending to fly and yet, the laws of gravity take over and I just come crashing down to earth? I don't know. I don't know what it is. But if that's really her finish, I would actually sadly say the big ending, Big E's finish, is actually a more credible one than is Nikki Cross's, or Nikki's, rather. It's a sad state of affairs with Nikki Cross, and I know that people gravitate to her, and I feel like I'm happy for the person Nikki Cross. Okay, I'm not trying to disrespect her. She seems like a genuinely good person, but Nikki Cross's victory on Monday night and Money in the Bank there, prior, I don't think, I don't know. I don't think it's going to resonate with the male audience, the core male demographic. It's so geared towards children that it's stomach churning. And I don't know. Hopefully the fans will turn on this. I don't think they will, but I don't know. Maybe if there's people as dark and cynical as you and I filling a building, that'll send the right message. All right, let's move on. Goldberg. Vince, please stop bringing Goldberg back as a heel. Well, I think you mean babyface because he's being billed as a babyface. But yes, I just don't understand it. There's so much talent that they could put Bobby Lashley against. Why Goldberg? Just to make the fans be excited to see him before you put them all to sleep with his boring matches. It just doesn't make any sense. Talking about Bobby, however, I think you would have been feeling the same as me as Bobby beat the hell out of Kofi. Brilliant. I know my opinions are probably controversial, but I like what I like, and I'll tell you different if I don't. Take care of your resident heel, Owen. Well, yes, Owen, you are our resident heel, probably to some people. Not to me. I will say that Vince bringing back Goldberg is not surprising. I don't think it's him bringing him back as much as it is. This is just part of the contract that he signed with WWE a number of years ago, where he has a set number of matches per year. It's not that he was just sitting at home and Vince is calling him up. I think he's just fulfilling his contractual duties from a couple of years ago, which from what I understand is 2 matches per year. That's my understanding. I don't know for how long, probably not much longer. So that said, if he did bring Goldberg back as a heel, I've said this before, I would be in much more support of this. And as far as your question, why Goldberg? It's fairly simple. Vince McMahon trying to make SummerSlam the biggest it can be with as much star power as there can be. And I think Brock Lesnar was unavailable or they couldn't come to terms because let's face it, Brock Lesnar is a much better opponent, a bigger star, and a bigger match for Bobby Lashley than Goldberg is. And I don't think anybody wants to see Goldberg. Despite what you heard Monday night, which hopefully is just an anomaly and people just being excited to be back and they're skewing what WWE is doing in an unfortunate way by telling WWE, you're doing great. And we need to stop that. We need to control ourselves and control our emotions when we're at these events, guys, and use your noodle, right? If something that you're looking at is like it doesn't make sense or you really don't believe in, don't cheer it, please. I'm begging you from a fan to a fan, because you are going to artificially boost the confidence of WWE that they're doing just an A-OK job with things. And I don't know. I hope Goldberg gets booed out of the building at SummerSlam. I really do. All right. So, Owen, thank you for the email. And let's continue on to, let's see. Let's go to DJ Kuzmo, who always has a very, very poignant and well thought out email. So DJ writes in, and I know he has a couple of voicemails too coming up, so this is just kind of your appetizer of DJ, but on to Patreon. And for the first time ever in the history of the WWE podcast, yours truly has joined Patreon for just $1 a month. LOL, I literally checked my bank statement to see if it was $1, and I soon discovered that it was $1. So to all listeners out there who haven't joined yet, the WWE podcast on Patreon, this is a great opportunity to join. I joined Patreon so that I can check out what all the hype was about on joining the Discord private server. With that being said, I joined the Discord server, and I got a warm welcome from Matt and all the listeners that were there reacting live to Money in the Bank. It literally felt like junior high in 1999 all over again, being inside of an AOL chat room. So thank you, Matt, for the nostalgia, and thank you, Michael Ritter, for convincing me to join the Discord chat. So today, ladies and gentlemen, you'll be glad you did. So join today. You'll be glad you did. Well, DJ, thank you for the infomercial. I do appreciate it. Yeah, no, when we say it's $1, we really mean $1, right? I mean, we're not saying, yeah, wink, wink, it's $1. And then you look at your bank statement, it's like $100, right? No, I promise that's not how it works. And Patreon, I mean, they wouldn't even allow that at all. I mean, it's not even possible to do. But yes, if you are a fan or were a fan of the AOL chat rooms, if you are of the generation that remembers what the hell I'm talking about, if you even know what AOL chat rooms were, then this does have that kind of vibe. It does have that kind of vibe. And as I said in our Discord server with DJ, we will not be asking for your ASL. And if you don't know what ASL is, it stands for age, sex, location, which was just something that was asked constantly in AOL chat rooms back in the 90s. So yes, DJ, I'm glad I can give you a bit of nostalgia. So thank you for that bit of an infomercial. And I just realized I did not place you at the beginning of the email read, considering you're a patron of the show. And officially now, I'm not used to you being on Patreon. So how about this? Given that this was a little bit later than it should have been because you're a patron and it's not fair, I'll play your voicemail first. Okay, I will do your voicemail right when we're done with emails. So maybe that makes up for a little bit of my misstep. So, all right, let's continue on here with your email, though. And talking about Money in the Bank. I know that Money in the Bank is going to be a pretty hot topic tonight. And let's see what DJ Kuzmo has to say about Money in the Bank. My one dark horse pick in Nikki Cross, and one of my men's picks in Big E, both winning Money in the Bank briefcase, came to fruition. Definitely happy for that, because I had a hunch that WWE was going to sway us with Nikki winning the briefcase, which adds some, oh gosh, and you say this in quotes, momentum for her since she was repackaged as a superhero. And you also say that in quotes, as it should be. It's all about the feel-good story that WWE seems to have used as the proverbial hook to get us fans to support Nikki. But make no mistake, folks, it's a head-scratcher to support a character that Nikki is playing who doesn't have any depth or realism into her character. And I'm going to add any plausibility, any believability, more pity, kind of like dress up on Halloween, hasn't had a credible win. Need I go on? Right. Again, I understand the gravitational pull towards her being all positivity, and anybody can be a superhero. No, they can't. And I choose to live in reality. Okay. When it comes to at least plausibility of characters. Okay. It's kind of ironic saying you live in the world of reality when pro wrestling is the very antithesis of that, right? But anyway, all right. I agree that the match of the night goes to Charlotte versus Rhea. They put on a hell of a performance where at all times I felt that Rhea was going to retain. Unlike Roman Reigns versus Edge, the title match, there wasn't any interference or screwy finishes in the Raw Women's title match, just a really good, hard-hitting action. This was by far, in my opinion, Rhea's best match since coming up to Raw. Any female competitor that faces Charlotte in a title or non-title match seems help elevate their in-ring ability to the next level. Rhea has a bright future ahead of her at only 24. I can't believe she's only 24 years old. I thought she was older. Anyway, I digress. No, DJ, you and I are in the same boat there. I thought she was 28, 29, 30. And no, she's a ripe old age of 24. God almighty, does she have some time in front? Arguably, she has a good 10 to 15 years. I mean, maybe probably 10. But Yeah, she's got a lot of time in front of her. John Cena getting the biggest pop ever and the biggest pop of the night. Well, okay, I wouldn't say the biggest pop ever, DJ. Okay, there's been some really big pops. You want some good ones? Stone Cold returning, like almost ever, right? His Barclays Center Monday Night Raw 25th anniversary that I attended was probably the loudest pop I've heard in person. I mean, loudest pop ever. I got to call you out, DJ. I will say that. It's the loudest pop we've heard in a long time, years. So I'll give you that. But it was certainly the biggest pop of the night. It was, and you say that it was very bizarre to him, as the botch guy pointed out in a recent video, because John Cena presumably assumed he would get a 50-50 crowd response, and the cheers outshined the boos, and those that were booing him ended up cheering for him. That is very rare. I can't find a wrestler, both male and female, in today's current roster that has had an effect on the live crowd. Yeah, it was easily, as I said, the most unified response I've ever heard for John Cena in a positive way. I think it's, again, a combination of a lot of things with that response. Fans are back. They're excited to be in person, right? It's the title match. Roman Reigns just won. They're looking for somebody to take him down a peg. You have the fans who are salivating for star power after what was kind of an anemic Thunderdome era in terms of star power, albeit understandable. They're not going to bring back big stars and when no one's there in person. But there's a lot of contributing factors, and you haven't seen John Cena in a while, and they know that John Cena is not the future of WWE anymore, so they don't have to worry about them shoving John Cena down our throats. It's just kind of it's a nice reunion. There's a lot of good there, and there's very little risk with John Cena coming back now with him getting booed. I don't think he'll get booed, even in SummerSlam in Vegas. I don't. So, okay, why do you think, or what do you think is missing from today's roster that fans don't gravitate to the extent they do to with Cena when they boo and cheer? DJ, that's an easy one. Star power. Star power, star power, star power, star power. It will always and forever be what people gravitate to. It's why all of us watch sports or movies, right? I mean, you may love a genre. You may love a genre of action, adventure, horror, drama, teen comedy, whatever. I don't know why I thought of teen comedy, right? I'm thinking of like teen comedy movies in the early 2000s, and I don't know. By the way, anybody ever seen Not Another Teen Movie? I know that I'm going way, way off topic, but very quick side note, Not Another Teen Movie is one of the best teen movies of all time. I will say that. So that and Mean Girls. Okay, I'll leave you with that. Now that I have some of you going, what? Right? Anyway, buddy, it is just star power. Star power draws people to a sport. Tiger Woods, for example, carried the sport of golf on his back for years and years and years. Many people can't even name another person that played golf ever, right? I mean, you have Rory McIlroy, you have Phil Mickelson. Like I know some of the big names just because I casually follow that, but not to any degree that I would actually be able to have a debate with somebody. But my point is, star power will always draw. Star power continues to draw, and it is even more prevalent in pro wrestling. So, finally, a Money in the Bank. Just like how Charlotte Flair gave the crowd the middle finger, WWE tried to block it. Yeah, that was funny. Let's all take a moment to give the not-so-good folks at Peacock the middle finger and a giant FU for screwing us over with the freezes and glitches that occurred during the pay-per-view. If anyone was interested in getting a free 7-day trial for a VPN service for SummerSlam, give it a shot, because the technical glitches might probably get worse on Peacock during SummerSlam. Anyway, I digress. Yes, guys, go to like ExpressVPN or something. They're not a sponsor of the show, but they were great. I just decided to, I had them for a while, but I decided to just take a pause for it and see if it's worth the money. And now I'm going to go back because it is. And yeah, VPN is where it's at. And then you can get the WWE Network. Yes, big middle fingers and a stunner to Peacock. On a Monday Night Raw. This is my first full watch of a 3-hour Monday Night Raw show since before COVID. I just wanted to see the crowd's reactions to the storylines and the fallout from Money in the Bank. From listening to another Raw review show from another podcast this Monday night, Wait a minute, DJ. Whoa, 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 whoa. You listen to it. How dare you? How dare you betray the loyalty this show bestows upon you? How dare you? Of course, I'm being just a facetious jerk because I do the same thing, right? Like I think we all listen to the other podcasts. I'm a big fan of The Torch. Okay, big fan. I think they do a great job. ProWrestling.net with Jason Powell, great job. I'm not afraid to say it. I'm giving them free advertising, but I don't care. They're great. They're really good. They're big for a reason. So those are my two favorites. Like Wade Keller is really good. But hey, all good in the hood. We're all under the same umbrella. We're all the wrestling part of the wrestling community. So anyway, I'm just cutting promos left and right here. So you continue to say that you felt like creative, or they felt like creative was throwing everything in the proverbial kitchen sink at us. I don't know about you, but it felt like Raw was trying too hard to keep the fans attentive, especially with the returns of Keith Lee and Oldberg, the quick debut of Karrion Kross, which felt underwhelming, and Nikki cashing in her Money in the Bank briefcase successfully. So I understand that logic. I understand that stance, that you would look at this and go, man, they just threw everything. But they really didn't throw everything. I mean, they certainly did a lot more in one show than they did in like 6 months of shows during the Thunderdome era. So we have to recalibrate our expectations, maybe not to this level, but remember what wrestling can be when it's really good, when you have surprise returns and surprise cash-ins and you have storylines progressing and a crowd that's there to react. So yes, they did kind of blow through a lot of their ammunition, so to speak. But this is not the end of it. They didn't get to Brock Lesnar. They didn't get to Becky Lynch. They didn't get to Bray Wyatt, if that's going to happen. They did go through Finn Balor. They did go through Karrion Kross and Keith Lee and Oldberg. They did. And those are some significant names, no doubt. But they still got some bullets left in the chamber. And I think that they'll end up using those at SummerSlam or beyond, all the way to WrestleMania. They still have The Rock out there floating around. CM Punk rumors, which we'll get to tomorrow on a show that I'm doing with Mary for an hour special. And I'm calling it special because I don't record on Thursdays with normally, other than Anthony DeMarco, with our What If, but I'm doing really 2 shows tomorrow. That said, DJ, yes, I understand that perspective, and I understand that podcast perspective, and I don't know if you agree or not, but I think it's understandable to think that they would have overdone it and trying too hard. But I'd rather have them try too hard than what we got during the Performance Center, no fans there, awkwardly silent. I mean, like, if I was going to pick between the two, I would choose them trying too hard. So, final thoughts. Did you notice on Raw that Bobby Lashley was bleeding from the left ear? Yes, I did. It looked very disturbing to me. I hope he's okay. I think he is. I haven't heard anything, but I did notice that. Did you see the tweet that John Cena is going to be on every Raw, SmackDown, and live house show until SummerSlam? No, wait, what? Let's see if fans start to get tired of Cena. Best regards, DJ, the new member of the WWE Patreon, WWE podcast team, family, I should say. Boy, I can't read tonight. I can't read. P.S. Be on the lookout for 2 voicemail recordings on my thoughts for Money in the Bank, Big E, and my mini rant on Karrion Kross. I did not know John Cena is actually going to essentially be a full-time performer, wrestler, from now through SummerSlam. I got to give the guy credit. He doesn't have to do this. So if people start complaining about John Cena, I'm gonna just remind them of the lack of massive star power that we have, and that John Cena is the bigger star we have on the roster right now, and to remember that he's going to be gone doing another movie, and who knows when we'll see him again. So I don't care if he's doing every live house show until SummerSlam. I think that's great. Good for him. That's actually really cool. All right, DJ. Well, again, as promised, I will get to your voicemail as soon as we get to the voicemail portion of the show. But until then, let's move on to our next email, which, let's see here. Joe Owen writes and says, really enjoyed having the crowds back this week in wrestling and gave the shows a much better feel. However, a few things that concerned me is Goldberg yet again returning and is most likely automatically getting a title shot. I feel as though he's a Hall of Fame and a Hall of Famer and a legend. He is, no doubt. That with his last two matches being losses to Strowman and McIntyre, is not exactly a big victory for Lashley at this time. I can't take full credit for this pitch, but Lashley should refuse to accept his challenge unless Goldberg proves himself worthy of the spot, and they could have him squash challengers over the next few weeks with a spear and a jackhammer, leading up to SummerSlam, leaving Lashley shocked and in no other position but to grant him the title opportunity, and in the process reminding fans of what Goldberg is capable of. Okay, I'll pause there. I don't dislike this. I just don't think it'll happen. The reason I don't think it'll happen is because Goldberg hasn't had a match on free television. I can't tell you the last time. I really don't. Did Goldberg even have a actual match on TV that wasn't a pay-per-view since he returned in 2016, 2017? I don't think so. So I don't think that's going to happen. I would agree with that he, at least looks like he qualifies somehow other than just his birthright because he's Goldberg. But I don't think that'll happen because he's not going to want to wrestle on free TV. And I doubt it. I like it. At least I think that would mitigate some of the boos, at least. I think it would mitigate some of the boos. But also the downside of that is because, I'm saying mitigate some of the boos because it would look like he somewhat earned it. But the downside is that whoever he's facing in those, quote, qualifying matches would have to be some people of significance because they're also in a title hunt. And you'd be bringing those individuals down as, not, and we're on Goldberg's level on the path to Goldberg. Or on the path to Lashley. So I don't know. I think it's not going to happen. Also, I'm happy for Nikki, but can also see this going one way, and that is a hero and villain style comic book feud with Alexa Bliss, as I'm not sure returning Becky versus Nikki match is big enough, and if Becky was to return and feud with Charlotte and Rhea, then this could make the Raw Women's Championship take a backseat as it has in previous times. Other than that, poor Karrion Kross on his debut. Thanks, Joe. Well, Becky versus Nikki is not exciting. It's not what anybody wants. It's certainly Rhea Ripley and Becky, I think, is probably the most desired. We've seen Charlotte Becky a number of times. We know we're going to get there, but Becky and Rhea, I don't believe have crossed paths. So I think that's the money match, or at least a triple threat between Rhea and Becky and Charlotte. I don't see, again, Nikki right now, the way she's being positioned is she's not even in the same league, not even the same stratosphere in terms of credibility with those three women. But yeah, Karrion Kross, and I know a lot of people are upset about Karrion Kross losing his debut. Look, Karrion Kross lost in his debut, which again is shocking, but I brought up the fact that Zelina Vega lost on her return. We've had a couple others lose upon their returns or debuts in WWE. It's a weird thing because typically it's almost like they have star power. I'm thinking of like Super Mario, where they just get complete immunity from a loss upon their debut or return. But here's what I would give people that are upset about Karrion Kross losing. He lost to Jeff Hardy, which is nothing to be ashamed about, number one. I think he was rejuvenated by his old music. And he lost also by Jeff Hardy cheating. He used the ropes. Third, ultimately, Karrion Kross is going to be the one to shine here. We know this is going to lead likely, I shouldn't say we know, we likely can presume, I think we accurately presume that it's going to be Jeff Hardy versus Karrion Kross at SummerSlam, in which you can safely assume pretty confidently that Karrion Kross is going to destroy Jeff Hardy, and we'll forget all about the fact that he lost his debut. So those of you that are upset about Karrion Kross, you can hang your hat on that. This is not the end of Karrion Kross. It's not going to hurt his career. It's just a little bit atypical for what they do for returning stars or stars coming up or debuting, whatever. So, okay. Let's close out. Well, we got two more emails. So we're going to take two more emails. And then after the emails, as I promised, DJ Kuzmo is going to lead us off with the voicemails. since he's a patron of the show. And let's see here. Let's go to Gus. We'll call you Gus because that's what you want to be called. Gus from Lake Forest, California. It's a little late in the day. Hopefully I made the cut. You did. I just had a quick question for you. How long do you think Nikki's, I know some people are calling you, so here's the thing, guys. If you say Nikki Cross or you say Nikki Ash, I'm just going to call her Nikki. Just FYI, because again, Nikki we know is correct. Her last name has changed 3 times in 3 weeks. But so how long do you think Nikki's title reign will be? In my opinion, if the plan is for her to have a title for a while, she needs to stay as far away from Charlotte as possible. I think the money match for Nikki is with Alexa Bliss. The good versus evil storyline is a slam dunk here, and I think given the history between them, it would be a good story going into SummerSlam. Thanks for listening as always, Gus. Well, Gus, thank you for taking the time to write in. Hope all is well over there in California. So you're right. If they want a lengthy title run from Nikki, you would think that they need to keep her away from Charlotte. But Nikki has to defend it against someone, and you're right, it could be Alexa Bliss. I think that would be a good opponent given their history. But I don't know how long you're going to be able to keep Charlotte and Rhea at bay without them trying to capture that championship. I don't think Nikki has a long title run. I really don't. And plus the looming Becky Lynch out there. What's she going to do? Does she even come after the championship right away, or does she go after somebody just like a grudge? I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces. Honestly, until you get Becky Lynch back, and they put her back in some kind of solidified story, you could really come up with several scenarios of how this all plays out. None of which I think are good for Nikki Cross or Nick. Sorry. See, there I go. None of which are really advantageous to Nikki fans, because I think one way or the other she's not going to have a lengthy title run. I don't think it's in the plans, because they've got Becky Lynch waiting in the wings, and they've got Charlotte, who just lost it after winning it 24 hours earlier. So, Gus, thank you. And let's get to our final email for the show. And this is none other than Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan. And he says, I want to start off by saying Cena sucks. Cena sucks. I can't stand John Cena, and I know the WWE Universe loves him, but not the casual wrestling fan. I can't wait for Roman to make John Cena acknowledge him. I honestly think Roman will hold his own against Cena in promos. Hell, Roman might be better now than Cena. So the casual wrestling fan predicts that Roman will destroy John Cena in at least one promo. What do you think? I think, and I'm going to stand by this, because I don't think people recognize how good John Cena is on the microphone. Roman Reigns over the last year has done excellent. He's done really well, to the point of arguably carrying WWE, not just SmackDown, the brand, the company. And we have some participating players and some honorable mentions. Drew McIntyre held us down through the Thunderdome era. You have Randy Orton, Edge. There were several stars that were just pillars of the Thunderdome era, and Roman Reigns is one. The reason I'm bringing this up is Roman Reigns has not yet been challenged in a live format with a live mic to go head to head with somebody on the microphone without a safety net. He has not had that challenge yet. He's good in his quiet promos backstage with the Usos. He has Paul Heyman occasionally chime in. But I do still believe that John Cena would carve him up in a promo. John Cena doesn't go by a script, and you can see it. Roman Reigns doesn't feel scripted anymore, but has yet to be challenged in that type of mano-a-mano promo like they did in 2017, where he got absolutely destroyed. So while his character's changed, and he's evolved into the character we all hoped he could be, and he's been great backstage with the Usos and talking down to people, he has not done a promo battle with someone yet that has been just scathing. So with that inexperience still under his belt, with that type of promo style, and the fact of John Cena just being so damn good, I don't think it's going to happen naturally. The only way that John Cena gets destroyed by Roman Reigns if it's by design. That's the only way that I can see Roman Reigns destroying John Cena, is if it's actually written and they deliver the lines in a way that doesn't feel like it's being delivered from a piece of paper. So that's the only way. I don't think it's going to happen naturally, is what I'm saying. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry, brother. John Cena is one of the best of all time on the microphone. And yes, Roman's improved in terms of character and in the ring and his mannerisms, but he has not yet done that promo that John Cena is so good at. So, okay. The almighty WWE champion looks unstoppable. I loved every second of Kofi being beaten to a pulp. He destroyed Kofi so bad my wife and daughter were cringing and I was laughing and cheering. It was great. Well, there you go. Now we can agree. I thought it was one of the best things I saw that night. Seeing Kofi Kingston be not even competitive was exactly what they needed, what Lashley needed. What Kofi deserved as a character. It was great. I agree. So I feel bad for your wife and daughter cringing, because if you love Kofi, it was uncomfortable, but I was laughing and cheering along with you, my friend. Funny story. And this is in the email, not me. Sometimes me and my wife, Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan, will attempt to predict what will happen during the match we're watching. During the Bobby Lashley promo, when he did the open challenge, she asked, "Who do you think will come out?" I said most likely Goldberg or Brock. She said, "You took the good guesses, so give me Keith Lee." Then Keith Lee comes out and gets dominated by Bobby, and Goldberg comes out, and we laugh and say we're both right. That is actually really funny that you guys somehow impossibly are both right. And I got to give it to Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan for picking Keith Lee. I did not see that happening. So, she somehow had a crystal ball on that one. Sidebar, when I first heard the rumors of Goldberg facing Bobby, I was bummed, but I'm actually okay with it now. Goldberg got a huge pop, and I don't mind seeing Goldberg get his career ended at the hands of the Almighty. Well, here's the thing, my friend. When you frame it like that Bobby's going to end the career of Goldberg, then yeah, sign me up, right? Where do I sign? And how much money do you want, right? Like that's what I want. If the point of this match is to elevate Lashley to that next level and have him destroy Goldberg, then oh hell yeah, sign me up. But if it's just for another spear fest of who can kick out of 8 finishers, or who can kick out of as many finishers as they can, and that kind of thing, then no, I don't want that. But when you frame it like that, of course, yeah, then give me the match. To finish the story, as Charlotte was making her entrance before the main event, Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan asks, "Do you think Charlotte will win?" I said, "I don't know, but I know she will retain via DQ or otherwise." She said, "I don't know, but I think she'll drop the belt." I said I could see Vinnie Mac doing a title change, but I still think at the end of the match, Charlotte will still be champion. As we know, Charlotte lost via DQ, retained the championship, only to have Nikki ASH cash in, and Charlotte drops the title. Once again, we were both right. All to say that wrestling fans can have differing opinions, and somehow we all are right at the same time. What do you think? I think your wife is smart. I mean, I gotta say, is done better than I have in terms of predictions so far. I mean, I was horrible in my predictions, most of them for Money in the Bank. So I do this for part of my living, and yet she's just casually watching it and says, "Yeah, this will probably happen. This will probably happen." And yet I'm sitting here doing this for part of my living, and I can't get anything right. So I feel like a fool. Your wife seems just very perceptive, and I'm a little bit jealous of her intelligence. But that said, I don't know what you're asking me to think of here, because I both of you were right, if that's what you're asking, what I think. But as far as the way that match was structured and the outcome of it, I understand it. I understand why they did it. Okay. I understand why they were able to, or what the feeling was around Nikki, and why people gravitate towards her, and why they did the cash in. I understand all that. I'm just not a fan of Nikki at all in terms of the character, right? The person, the competitor, the crazy Nikki. I like that. When she was known as Nikki Cross, good stuff. When she came with Alexa Bliss and did her moment of bliss, it was bad. When she came back as kind of this pathetic return and got pathetic victories, just not really a fan of that. But at least she wasn't wearing a a Spirit Halloween costume on a regular basis, calling herself almost a superhero. You know, that's the equivalent of me, you know, putting on a New York Yankees jersey and calling myself, you know, almost a major leaguer. Yeah, I'm fairly sure that still doesn't make me a Major League Baseball player just because I wear the jersey of a Major League Baseball team. But hey, we can all pretend. All right, I was very happy Nikki won the championship. When her music hit, I was cheering. I would love to see what type of match the Raw Women's Championship will be at SummerSlam. Maybe a fatal four-way. Yep, I think a lot of us are thinking that. What do you think will be, or who do you think will be the Raw Women's Championship match? I alluded to this a little earlier, so I'll give you the abbreviated version. I think, what I think and what I want are two different things. What I think will happen is Becky actually being a part of this fatal four-way, because they'll have three competitors and they'll think they're having a triple threat, and maybe it's the final week before SummerSlam, and they announce that there's a fourth competitor at the end of Monday Night Raw, and Becky's music hits, the crowd loses their mind, and we're in a fatal four-way for the championship at SummerSlam. That's what I think they'll do. What do I want? I want Becky Lynch to stay the hell out of any kind of multi-person match. I want her in a one-on-one. That's what it should be upon her return. It shouldn't be watered down with other people. So I would want to have her return either at SummerSlam or the Monday Night Raw after. That's what I would do if it was me, but I don't, they don't listen to me. So that's their loss, right? Okay. Shanky paid all his dues in one time. That was honestly hard to watch. I totally agree. I haven't seen chair shots that were that bad since The Rock versus Mankind, Last Man Standing. Mankind took 13 plus unprotected chair shots to the head. Shanky took 30 unprotected chair shots to the back. There's no way that they told him that he would take more than 30 chair shots. I'm pretty sure they told him multiple chair shots, but damn. I wonder why Drew didn't stop at 10 when the crowd was counting. If you were Shanky, would you be willing to take that kind of punishment, or would you have rolled out of the ring to end the punishment? I would have laid there. At that point, you reach a point, I would assume, with a chair. And again, that's not a true steel chair. Okay. Anybody that doesn't believe me, go to your local Home Depot, your Lowe's, go to the section with chairs and lawn furniture, and they have steel chairs there. I can tell you right now, no matter how hard you hit somebody in the back, it's not going to bend and fold that way. Okay, so these are somewhat toned down, worked chairs, and they should be. That said, I would lay there, and I would just protect myself as best I could and give him the best part of my back to hit, as he tried to do, because at that point adrenaline takes over. At the end of the show, if you roll out of the ring, that it'll be noticed, and maybe at that early in your career could be in jeopardy for not, for being basically a wuss, for lack of for a PG term. How about that? And it's Drew McIntyre. And when are you going to have the opportunity to be in the same ring with Drew McIntyre again, a star of that caliber, right? I mean, I still would have taken any kind of punishment he wanted to dish out. I would have done it, right? It's a once in a lifetime opportunity at that point in your career. And adrenaline kicks in, your back probably goes numb at that point. It was painful, and you saw the bruises, but I would have done it. I would have just laid there and just taken it and bruised up my back and whatever else. I'm officially a fan of America's Most Wanted, Johnny Drip Drip and The Miz. Send all the hate mail to Matt at the WWE podcast. Oh God, brother, you're killing me. Well, I don't know why he needs to, John Morrison that is, needs to feel the incessant need to add the word moist to every single word that starts with M. Everything is a moist this, moist that, trying to find a creative way to stick in the word moist, which, by the way, is one of the worst words in the English language. Like, I don't even like saying it. I don't like hearing myself say it. So I guess maybe that's the point. But yeah, please don't send the hate mail to me. Okay, I am still not a fan of them. I haven't really ranted about them in a while because they haven't been as prevalent in the product. But congratulations to your family on the new edition. And if you need someone to help out with the Mailbag show, just let me know so I can, quote, take over. Yeah, see, I knew there was a plan. I think maybe a while ago I alluded to the fact I'm adding a new member to the family, and you you were sitting back thinking to yourself, this is it. This is the moment. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to offer to be a good guy, take over the Mailbag show. And that way it's my foot in the door to take over the whole podcast, right? I think I'm onto you. That was your plan. Masterful. Very masterful. But if that is the case, though, I will figure out. The Mailbag is the one show I have not figured out what to do yet, because the Mailbag show is obviously sent all to my email, and it's not as easy to pass off. But we'll have a conversation. Okay. Lastly, as a casual wrestling fan, I don't really watch NXT. I've heard of Karrion Kross before, but when I saw on Raw, I was like, who the beep is this guy? That's Karrion Kross. I hope it gets better, because if you take a loss to a jobber like Jeff Hardy, you are truly pretty low on the totem pole. That's all for this week. Well, I'm not going to speak again to Karrion Kross. I spoke about him a couple of times already, but I think there's more to come from Karrion Kross. You have not seen the last of him, and he will eventually get the last laugh on Jeff Hardy. I'll leave it at that. So, Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan, thank you for your well thought out email and your plot to take over this show. All right, let's take a quick break, give a little love to the sponsors of the show, and then at the back end, when we return, we're going to bring on voicemails, starting with DJ Kuzmo. So we'll be right back. Have you ever wanted to visit a pro wrestling museum, but there are none in your area? Now there's a museum you can visit from anywhere. Check out the Pro Wrestling Mini Museum, featuring autographs, ring-worn memorabilia, and more. Go to pwmuseum.net. That's pwmuseum.net. Facebook and Instagram, you can find them at pwmuseum, and on Twitter at pwmuseum1. So if you're looking for a great birthday gift, an anniversary gift, or the just because gift, then check out shopguru.in. They have free shipping. There are original products, original brands. There's fashion, gadgets, accessories, hobbies, household supplies, shoes, and a ton more. Again, they do have free shipping. There's a money-back guarantee, a 100% money-back guarantee. There's online support that you can click on and get a hold of somebody if you have any questions. So don't waste any time, guys. If you need that last-minute gift, the birthday gift, the anniversary gift, the just because, whatever it may be, head to shopguru.in. That's shopguru.in today.
Welcome back to the WWE Podcast. Let's get back to more great wrestling audio.
All right, let's get to Mr. DJ Kuzmo and see what he has to say for this week's mailbag. And again, guys, if I have multiple voicemails from the same person, I just lump them together instead of separate ones. So that's going to be the case here. So let's see what he has to say.
Hello, WWE Podcast World. This is none other than DJ Kuzmo, back at it again on your Mailbag show. We can finally say how sweet it is to see live crowds back, to see the soul of professional wrestling back for a very, very long time. Hopefully there's not another lockdown, not another COVID outbreak, but thank God that live crowds are back. Now, I want to talk about what just happened during the course of Money in the Bank. First and foremost, this was a great pay-per-view. Very great pay-per-view. We're talking about one of my favorite pay-per-views so far this year. But before I get started, I am finally on Patreon, guys, and I enjoyed my experience in the Discord chatting with all my friends out there. You know who you are. It was a very awesome time to be with you guys on the Discord, and it was totally awesome. But getting back to Money in the Bank, I want to talk about, yes, you know who I'm talking about, none other than the Usos, finally tag team champions on SmackDown. And now we can finally say that the Bloodline, that's right, folks, the Bloodline is finally here. We're talking about Roman Reigns, our Universal Champion, and the Usos, our SmackDown Tag Team Champions. I like this faction just to be at 3. I don't want no more than 3 people in this group. 3 seems like a solid number for this faction. I will talk to you once again with some more as we continue with the Money in the Bank. Talk to you soon. This is DJ Kuzmo back at it again on your Mailbag show. As you continue talking about Money in the Bank, my second favorite thing that I really enjoyed was seeing my pick for the men's Money in the Bank, none other than Big E, finally gets the briefcase. It's been long overdue for this guy, and I'm so happy that he is now our Money in the Bank winner. Much props to this guy. Hopefully we can start to see a change in his character, a little edginess to Big E as he goes to a next level in his singles career. Hopefully to be able to cash in his Money in the Bank probably at SummerSlam. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself. But shout out to Big E, and let's see what more we can see from this guy as he is carrying our Money in the Bank briefcase. But I want to talk a little bit about Monday Night Raw. I usually don't watch Monday Night Raw as much, but because the live fans were back this past Monday night, I had to watch. But I don't know about you guys, but I felt like they were throwing a lot of stuff at us on Monday Night Raw. Of course, you had John Cena, you had Goldberg return, you had Keith Lee return, you had Karrion Kross return, you had Nikki Cross cashing in her Money in the Bank briefcase. A lot of stuff was thrown at us, so I don't know if you guys enjoyed the show. I liked the show overall, but some of the booking could have been done better. One of the things that really got me pissed off was seeing Karrion Kross, lose to Jeff Hardy in a roll-up. How the hell do you lose on your debut match coming from NXT to Monday Night Raw and lose to Jeff Hardy? Jeff Hardy has one of the worst win-loss records right now in the WWE, and you have him lose to Jeff Hardy with a roll-up? Come on, WWE. This is something, that you want to book Karrion Kross as a tough guy, as a guy that's undefeated, as a guy that, he's really, really not, all about being business. So I don't understand why WWE had to put this booking decision for Karrion Kross to get embarrassed in front of a live crowd on Monday Night Raw. But I digress. I hope you have a great week. I hope we continue to see better booking, and I will talk to you next time.
Yes, the always energetic, fun to listen to DJ Kuzmo back on the show with his very spirited opinions and feedback with the last few days of WWE, the last few shows, I should say. And, Big E winning, I've already covered that a little bit. I'm a bit underwhelmed with Big E at the moment. Not from not from the standpoint that I don't think he's going to be good, but just his character development as we've gone over. And Karrion Kross, I did cover this too a little bit, but DJ, I mean, it was concerning, but he lost via roll-up, it is a cardinal sin. I mean, the roll-up we all know is the most overused move in wrestling. And that said, he did lose by Jeff Hardy cheating to win. And at the end of the day, Karrion Kross will become victorious. He will be victorious in this program. I think it was just Jeff Hardy, I guess, getting some kind of superpower from his old music. I mean, I don't know. It was startling, but there is a trend of returning stars, Keith Lee, Zelina Vega, and now Karrion Kross losing their return or debut matches. It's bizarre. It's normally just a very hard and fast rule with wrestling. If you debut or return, you win that match, typically. So, yeah, it is a bit weird, but it is great to have fans back. It's great to hear you, DJ. It's great to be able to talk to you on Discord during the pay-per-view and all of our other patrons. If you'd like to join us, it's only a step away. Head on over to Patreon and get yourself in for $1. You can get on the Discord server. It's a blast, I got to say. Especially getting that live feedback from everybody in the room is it brings an energy and an interaction to the pay-per-view you don't always get. It's kind of like our own Taboo Tuesday, except it's not Tuesday, right? You get what I mean. But all right. Well, thank you, DJ, for all of your contributions to this show. And we will, as you say and I say, we'll see you next time. All right. Let's continue on with our voicemails.
Hello, Matt. This is Sharon from Israel. And congratulations, WWE. You just made the worst Monday Night Raw ever. Damn, this was such a bad show. And it's such a shame that it was made in the first row with audience. What can I say? When can I start? Where can I start? Goldberg return, so bad. Keith Lee return and lose. I mean, what you can make from Keith Lee from now on? Only thing you can make with him is maybe it will be a heel. Karrion Kross, first lose to freaking Jeff Hardy. How could you make that? I just can't believe that he did it. Even the John Cena return was so scripted, was so weird. The bro segment, it was so... I'm so disappointed about it. I mean, I had so much expectations from this show. Brock Lesnar return, Becky Lynch return. But I don't know what Mr. McMahon is taking in those days, but it is so bad. And of course, that in the last minutes we saw Nikki Cross. Yeah, I'm gonna call her Nikki Cross, not Nikki freaking Ash. Weird. Nikki Cross took the championship from Charlotte. You don't have any respect to any of the real superstars in WWE. You just don't. And it's going to be such a bad SummerSlam main event with Goldberg versus Lashley. I just spoke in Hebrew. With Goldberg versus Lashley, with Nikki Cross versus Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair. It's going to be such a bad SummerSlam. So, yeah, I don't know what to say anymore. I really hope so that SmackDown will be better, that will be better comebacks or anything like that. Yeah. Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye.
All right, Sharon. Well, it sounds like you did not enjoy Monday Night Raw. And I understand the frustration for the show. I do. I understand your frustration about Goldberg. I have shared in that frustration over the last hour and a half of this show. Just because I think they did that with Brock Lesnar likely not available. So Goldberg was probably the second choice, I would assume. Karrion Kross lost. Keith Lee lost. And I've already covered Karrion Kross at length. Really, I've said everything I need to say about Karrion Kross. As far as Keith Lee losing, that was a bit surprising. But it's Bobby Lashley coming off of a dominant victory. And you could have had Keith Lee versus Bobby Lashley at SummerSlam, but clearly I don't think Vince McMahon saw Keith Lee as a main event level guy yet. At least he's being featured in main events. I mean, they didn't just bring him back to lose in a squash to, I don't know, R-Truth or something, right? Like, they actually did bring him back in one of the main events of the show, challenging the WWE champion. And he was competitive with the WWE champion. So there is that. He didn't just get squashed. He, as they would argue, I don't know if I would, but they would argue he won in a loss by being elevated, being shot back into the main event. And yeah, he lost, but people are going to remember that he's a main event guy. They're going to associate main events with Keith Lee, even though he lost. I think that's what they think. Okay. I'm glad you brought up the bro segment that John Cena did briefly with Riddle on Raw. I didn't really bring this up at all, I think, in my Monday Night Raw review or talk about it at all. And it needs to be talked about because John Cena, as Riddle was coming out for his match, starts interacting with John Cena, and John Cena is like, I get it now. And they just start saying bro to each other. What do you get? What? I don't know. It was weird. John Cena didn't say anything other than bro. Like, I don't know. It didn't do it for me. It wasn't one of my favorite segments of all time. I'll say that. Yeah, that part, for all the good that John Cena brings to the WWE, the one negative, if we're on the negative train, that he has had throughout his entire career, I think his Achilles heel, even as a really effective babyface, has been his sense of humor that I think at times, while it's self-deprecating, is actually too self-deprecating to the point where he's undermining himself for real. His sense of humor, at least that comes across on camera, often is not very good. And that, I don't know what that was supposed to be with Riddle. It wasn't funny. It was just kind of like, oh, what do you mean you get it? Like, it's like they gave us half a promo there. Like, it was weird. I agree. But, well, Sharon, I hope that you enjoy Monday Night Raw as time goes on. It seems like you were completely turned off by the show, and I get your reasons why. Even if I don't agree with them, that's not the point. I understand them. I understand why you would feel that this show was not good, with the questionable losses and the 54-year-old man returning. I get it. I totally get it. So hopefully Raw improves for you, and maybe next week we can get a little bit more of a positive review from you. I won't hold my breath, but certainly you're welcome to call back and or email me your voicemail, however you'd like to do that. So, okay, let's keep this show going.
John Cena's back. I said before, he's my favorite of all time. When he came back, man, I was so excited. My heart dropped. Just got to say, I think we all know he's not going to win, but would you want to see him win another world title before he retires? I feel like, we're going to get a good match. He's definitely not going to win because it's probably just going to be a one-off. But just wanted your thoughts on if you want John Cena to break Ric Flair's record. Second, all I know is Seth freaking Rollins better freaking beat Edge at SummerSlam, because from a logic perspective, Seth Rollins feels like he deserves a shot. So if he doesn't beat Edge, there's no way you can tell me that you deserve a shot when you lost to the man that just lost his title match. So that's all I got to say about that. My question to you is, when do you think that they'll actually pull the trigger on the Rollins and Reigns match? Because if it's John Cena's next at SummerSlam, I'm not really sure the pay-per-view schedule. So just one of your thoughts on when you think that match will happen, or what pay-per-view would you want to see it happen? Maybe at the Royal Rumble? Not the Champions, I'm not sure. Goldberg, I was surprised at the reaction he got. The crowd was cheering him. I don't think he's going to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did, because, hey, he beat The Fiend. He beat Brock Lesnar, so, man, I don't know. But it was kind of cool to see him back. My time's almost up, man. Thanks, and I'll talk to you next week.
Hey, Justin. So do I think John Cena should win another world title before he truly hangs it up to break Ric Flair's world record? No, I don't. And the reason I don't is because the intent behind John Cena winning is the wrong intent. Meaning, I don't want them to have John Cena break Ric Flair's record for the sake of breaking Ric Flair's record. That is the last reason I want someone to break a record, is just to break a record. And WWE has done that over the years with certain long reigning champions and number of days, like all that kind of thing. But in this case, that's such a cherished record in the wrestling industry. I don't think it would be well perceived if you have John Cena win, clearly just to break the record and then move on. And that said, the only way I'd accept it if they did that would be if they decided to turn John Cena heel. Because as a heel, you could really play off that, right? I mean, you could say you're better than Ric Flair, that, you could go on and on. So only way I'd accept it is if they turn Cena heel, which I still have hold out hope that they would Give us a heel John Cena. What does that look like? I still believe we'll eventually get that at some point. I don't know when. I don't know how. But that's your first question. Second question, because you had a couple of them. Seth should win. Yes, he should. I'm a massive Edge fan. Huge. I mean, Edge just lost his last couple of matches now with the WrestleMania main event, and of course the match with Roman one-on-one here at Money in the Bank. But Seth Rollins is the one you're trying to elevate here. Seth Rollins is the one that you want to move to that next level and continue to evolve as a face of SmackDown or the face of your brand as a whole. Edge doesn't need that right now. At the same time, I don't need Edge being a sacrificial lamb for everything. He can get a couple of wins in, but ultimately Seth Rollins should be the one to win the blow-off. I agree. As far as Rollins and Reigns, the only way that happens in the near future is if a third-party babyface is involved. Because you can't have heel versus heel, and I don't want either to turn babyface. So, as they are presently constituted in their roles, I don't think that having either one turn babyface is a good idea. And I don't want two heels facing each other because that's typically not a great fan interest matchup. That's why you need a third party in there. So that's how I think it happens. Unless you're talking about down the line, I guess Roman could be the one to turn babyface once all's said and done into the mega babyface that Vince always wanted him to be. Rollins as a babyface never feels right. Reigns as a babyface doesn't feel right. But at least now that we have the time, a year, 2 years to hate Roman, and he comes full circle, it'll be more accepting. Goldberg winning the WWE Championship at the pay-per-view, it's certainly possible. I'm not putting it past WWE. I think that there's a solid chance that he does, considering that he's lost the last couple of matches that he's had. And just like Edge, there's only so many times that you can use an older star, legacy star, to put over your current talent without damaging that Hall of Famer. And so I think that there's a solid chance. It's not. I still don't believe it's likely, but there's a solid chance that Goldberg walks out as champion. Fans will lose their minds, and not in a good way. I don't believe. So, all right. Well, Justin, thank you for your voicemail. Great questions, and let's keep going.
Hey, it's Kyle from Baltimore, Maryland. I was going to talk about from last night, Money to Bank. I thought it was a fun show, and also the set, too. The arena itself looks freaking awesome. But I was going to talk about, Nikki Cross winning the Money to Bank briefcase. I thought that was a big mistake. The two other women were Alexa and Liv Morgan. I know people said that. I know people on your show saying that you like what Alexa's doing, but I kind of figured that she is very over with the crowd. She was Liv Morgan, but Nikki Cross winning the briefcase, I don't agree with that. But that was really stupid. And when I was saying Nikki winning the big briefcase, I like that. I think he may cash in on Bobby Lashley because of what happened with Roman Reigns and John Cena being the same for SummerSlam, looks like. So Biggie going to be facing Lashley for SummerSlam, so that'd be cool to see. But when I think about Nikki Cross winning the briefcase, I think it was a big mistake. That's just me. But that's it. This is your call. Bye.
Hey, Kyle. Well, I mean, this is obviously a voicemail sent before Monday Night Raw, and we all know what happened on Monday Night Raw with Nikki's cash-in. But we're winding the clock, and this is not Monday morning quarterbacking. This is how I felt in the moment with Nikki Cross winning the briefcase. I thought it was ill-advised. But as I have time to digest it and get beyond the moment of not understanding, you would want someone like Nikki Cross or Nikki, as I have tried to just call her throughout the show, you would want someone like Nikki, who is underdog, undersized, and appreciated in the women's division, at least in storyline, to be able to become champion through means that are not traditional. Meaning, yes, this is a briefcase and a match built for a heel, but when you have a babyface that has been getting count-out victories and fluke victories over the last month and a half, it makes sense that you would have her win the briefcase so that she can then win the championship the only way that she could probably win it. And that's not straight up, right? If you're going to have her do it and see what she can get as champion, the reaction she can get, and if it's consistent, if they catch lightning in a bottle, you don't have time to build up Nikki. You don't have time, right? You need a lot of backstory, a lot of foundational pieces, and they don't have that. They just have fluke victories and a Spirit Halloween costume to go off of. And right now, I think having her win the championship the way she did versus having Alexa win it that way, or say Liv Morgan win it that way, is better. Like I'd rather have Liv Morgan win it in a more credible way rather than just, well, let's wait till let's wait till the champion is knocked out and then I'll just take the belt from them and cover them, right? So somebody like Liv Morgan, a sympathetic favorite, needs to do it in a way that's a little bit more credible and has a little bit more morals to it and ethics. Okay. Thank you, Kyle, for your voicemail. Let's keep things going as we start to close out the show.
Oh, hey, Matt, it's Devin here. Watched Money in the Bank. I enjoyed it. Don't really have much to say about, except I just wanted to ask, with that piece of the chair that Edge has always used to, put across Roman's mouth, or the Usos whenever he did it, to create a form of submission, I was just wondering whether isn't that a foreign object? So would it be allowed in the match, or isn't it a disqualification? Or was it a no disqualifications match? I must be missing something though, so I apologize. So I was just wanting to clarify that. I think my highlight of the week was SmackDown Live in front of the audience again, the crowd. I loved it, and my highlight of it all was Sami Zayn's conspiracy theory. I love it. I love it. The man is so manic. He does it so well. And then the cherry on the top was Finn Balor, and as Pat McAfee put it, the man with 10 abs came in. I loved it. That was my highlight. I love his entrance music. I love the theatre it has. And probably because I'm a bit of a fan of electric guitar. So the whole thing was just, wish I was there. That was awesome. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. And also congratulations on the upcoming arrival of your child, as you mentioned last week. So I hope it all goes well for you guys too. Chat soon, and again, thanks for a great show. And the review with the botch guy was thoroughly enjoyable as usual. Thank you. Bye.
Well, Evan, thank you for your kind words. And yeah, it's about to get crazy in my life again, right, with another child. That said, let's talk about some wrestling here. And that is an interesting observation. And I thought about it too. I just didn't write it down or decide to bring it to the show because I simply forgot. The piece of the chair that Edge is just obsessed with, and for whatever reason is deciding to use it as an advantage in his matches, he used during a match that was a normal wrestling match. There weren't no DQ rules on. The referee just decides, just like he decides that it's okay to slam your opponent into the ring steps, just like they've always been okay with slamming your opponent onto the announce table. You just can't take a piece of the announce table and use it. It's the most bizarre logic ever, but I'm with you. It's whatever. So Balor and Zayn, people aren't really talking about that. That's kind of like a subplot to the main storylines running through Raw. And Finn Balor returning is a big deal. The man with 10 abs, that's hilarious. I didn't catch that. I'll have to rewatch. So that's pretty funny. But Zayn, I know that a lot of people, even some of the co-hosts on this show, are not fans of Zayn. I'm with you, Bevan. I really enjoy Sami Zayn on the mic for whatever. I don't care what he's talking about. He's just good at animating and emoting and communicating his message. And he's really good with body language, and he's over the top. I love it. I'm a big Sami Zayn supporter, and I think this match is going to be a big deal. I know I opened with this show. I believe we opened the show almost 2 hours ago now with this subject of Balor and Zayn and how they're not going to really create a great story, but rather rely on the in-ring action to tell the story. And I'm fine with that. Zayn can, I think, create enough of a foundational piece of the actual story for us to care enough. Balor's okay on the mic too. So this should be fun. This should be fun, and I'm with you on Sami Zayn. I think he's an unsung hero on WWE television. I will say that too. So, Bevan, thanks so much. Let's keep it going. I believe we've only got 2 more individuals, so let's see what we got.
Hey, Matt, it's Brad from Pennsylvania. How's it going? We had a pretty good weekend, if you ask me, with the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Only thing I didn't really like about that was probably keeping the Usos match off the pay-per-view, because I missed the pre-show, so I would have really enjoyed to see that in real time instead of having to watch it after the fact. But, you know, we went from the high of highs on Sunday to, for me, not the low of lows on Monday, but definitely not what I was expecting. I don't know, I was a little let down with some of the things that went on. Real quick, Keith Lee coming back, it was cool, but why would you have him come back just to lose? And the other thing is, like, why would he deserve a shot at Bobby Lashley after being gone for so long? But I get it, you know, we wanted to have a little crowd pop for Keith Lee, which they did, but then he lost pretty convincingly to Lashley, so I don't see why you'd keep him off TV that long, just have him come back and lose a pretty one-sided match. I mean, he had a little momentum for a little bit, but pretty much Lashley beat him pretty easily. Then also, I don't really get where they're going with the whole Nikki Ash thing. I know Vince likes her because she appeals to the kids, but I watched it with a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, and neither of them were interested. My kids are more interested in The Fiend, to tell you the truth. I mean, maybe my kids are just nuts, but they really like The Fiend and stuff like that. They don't get the whole, almost the superhero thing, you know. But then the part that killed me, I'm a pretty big Karrion Kross fan. I like what he's doing in NXT, so to see him come up to Raw was a little confusing for me because he's still the champ in NXT, so I know it's not like a full-time call-up, but then to have him come up and lose to Jeff Hardy with, you know, the famous, you know, roll-up pretty much, I wasn't a fan of that at all. And then, I mean, they brought Karrion without Scarlett. I mean, Scarlett, pretty much the whole entrance is Scarlett, so it's just like there was no heat to bring Karrion up at the moment. Like, there was no steam coming from, you know, it just didn't do it for me. I was very unimpressed with the Karrion Kross call-up. I mean, maybe they have better, bigger plans for him, but having him come up with the NXT belt and losing to Jeff Hardy without Scarlett just sucked for me. All the other stuff I pretty much enjoyed. I really enjoyed the SmackDown side of the pay-per-view. I loved what happened with Roman and Edge. We all pretty much knew that Seth was going to get involved somehow, so I like the way they actually did that with him fighting off. As soon as he fought off, I just said, oh, who is it? And then when Cena's music hit, hey, Matt, it's Brad from Pennsylvania. I ran out of the 3 minutes. I know you usually don't do 2 emails from the same person, so if you don't throw it on your mailbag, I get it, but I just wanted to finish up where I was at. We loved Cena coming back, obviously. And the whole thing with Nikki ASH, I don't understand because we all know Becky's coming back, but I know they're not setting up a feud with her and Nikki. At least I hope not. So, I mean, starting to wonder if Becky's going to SmackDown. I know they try to keep the real-life couples together, and Seth being on SmackDown, and now that they're back on tour, maybe that's a plan with the baby and everything. But one thing that I left out on my last email that I just wanted to say to you, because I know I'm the guy that tagged you the other day on Twitter and said, you know, we're getting Goldberg, we wanted Lesnar. But the other thing, I don't know if you saw, I know you watch baseball, but if you watch the All-Star game, the celebrity softball game, our buddy The Miz was a participant in the softball game. And then he comes out in a wheelchair. I mean, come on. They know that somebody probably saw him in the softball game. And then I figured when I saw him in the softball game, I didn't care. I was like, oh, cool, Miz, whatever, it's a softball game. I don't like the Miz, but it was cool to see him in the softball game. And then I figured, well, I guess the whole wheelchair gimmick is over since he's in a softball game. And then, no, it's not. So thought that was funny. I wanted to say that to you in case you didn't see it, or I know one of the other podcasts hit on it too, so I can't take all the credit for it, but
I did see it when I was watching a little bit of the home run derby and all that. But that's all I got, man. I'm sorry for taking up all your time and calling back, but I didn't call in, I think, 2 weeks. Just had a lot to get off the chest with the crowd back and the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. I thought it was great. I'd give it like a 8.7 out of 10. But that's all I got for you, Matt. Take care, man. I'll see you.
Hey, Brad. Great to hear from you. Well, with 2 weeks missing, you get 2 voicemails, right? So I'm feeling charitable this evening, and with DJ getting 2, you get 2, everybody gets 2. I'm like Oprah, right? So if you guys want to circumvent the 3 minutes, then I'm not gonna hate on you. I get it. Sometimes 3 minutes isn't enough to talk about wrestling. Certainly not. I mean, I'm going on 2 hours here on the show, and yeah, I get it. 3 minutes is like a blink of an eye. But I did not see the Miz thing with the softball. One part of me is thinking, oh my God, dude, can you just protect your gimmick a little? And the other part of me is like, well, we all know that outside of WWE television, that people do and say things that kill their characters, and no one cares or blinks an eye anymore because kayfabe's dead. But by the same token, you could also chalk this up to, we all know Miz is faking it, right? We all know that he is just, it's part of his gimmick now. And I don't believe he's really injured. So it's actually kind of funny that he would be seen on camera playing a softball game, and then he's back in the wheelchair. So you could actually say it adds to his heel character, right? If you want to really push it and try to look at this in a positive light. So that's what I'll choose to do. The carrying cross, I've covered that many times throughout the show, so hopefully you got my reaction to that during the show, to other people asking. And again, carrying cross, people are very angry about. But if I was on the NXT roster, I'd be so weary about coming up to the main roster. I don't even know if I'd want to go up, right? And I know he's carrying his NXT championship too. You mentioned that. He's carrying it to Monday Night Raw. Kevin Owens did the same thing, and he challenged John Cena, I believe it was Elimination Chamber in 2015, 16, and it immediately felt like he belonged. So just because they're NXT champion doesn't, invalidate their ability to come up to the main roster. But I hear you. I totally hear you. It was very perplexing, and I've already given my thoughts on it about Jeff Hardy and how it'll all shake out eventually, and try to look at it in a positive light. But Brad, thank you for your dual voicemails this week, and I hope to hear from you next week. All right, let's see if this is our final participant, and it is. So here comes our final voicemail for the evening. So no pressure. Let's see who it is.
Hey, Matt, this is Trey from Maryland. I have 2 questions for you. Now that I can't really stand it with Goldberg coming back, I'm kind of nervous that Goldberg is probably going to beat Lashley for the title at SummerSlam. But I'm hoping Vince McMahon has the guts to give Lashley a long push. At least let him hold the belt to, say, to the end of the year. Because I kind of want to see him and Roman Reigns duke it out at a Survivor Series. For they have that inter brand match since they're both champions. But my question is, if you was booking Lashley, or how would you book Lashley, and how long would you have him hold the belt? My second question is, now that Big E, I'm glad Big E had won the Money in the Bank contract. So I want to know, if you was to book Big E, when would you have him cash in the contract, and on which title holder would you have him cash it in on? Thanks.
Hey Trey, hope you're doing well over there in Maryland, and thanks for calling in. I'm not sure if you're a first time caller. I don't recognize you off the bat, but either way, thanks for calling in, and please continue to feel free every week. We definitely appreciate new listeners and those that don't call in often. You guys can do that, by the way. You can email us at realwwepodcast@gmail.com, or you can call us at 518-952-0247. But So a couple questions. Bobby Lashley versus Roman Reigns at Survivor Series. Cool idea, but Vince X-nayed something just like this last year with Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns that he took away and put Drew McIntyre in his place, which I thought was a mistake. I still believe it's a mistake to this day because you blew off a potential WrestleMania main event for really an exhibition match. So you could do, I don't mind heel versus heel. Heel versus heel in an exhibition match. There's no consequences. They're on opposite brands. Who cares? So I would love seeing Lashley and Roman Reigns duke it out in a exhibition match at Survivor Series. That's cool. But how would I book Bobby Lashley? How would I book Bobby Lashley? How long would I have him champion? I would have him champion until WrestleMania. I would have him champion until WrestleMania. And who his opponent would be, I really don't know at this point, but I would like to see Bobby Lashley on a true run. So at least we can say, he may not get another run like this again, especially of this length, but at least you could say that he got a fair shake in WWE. And I think WrestleMania would be a fine place to drop the belt. Now, as far as Big E, where does he factor into the cash in? Would he cash in on Lashley? Would he cash in on Roman? That's really hard to answer for a couple of reasons. Number one, we don't know what's going to happen with the draft, right? We could have Big E on a different brand, but from what I understand, the Money in the Bank briefcase winners can cash in on either. So I guess I argued against myself and won. So Big E really could go anywhere. And you would assume that he would cash in on a heel champion because he's a babyface. So I would have him, if everything was equal and everything stood still as of right now and froze in place, I would have him cash in on Roman Reigns. And I would have him do it potentially at Survivor Series, right? Like maybe at Survivor Series, but if The Rock's coming back to face Roman Reigns, then you're going to want that to be for the championship, then Big E has to wait. I think Big E, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, is probably going to be end up waiting a little longer than a lot of us think or may want to admit. And I think it's that, number one, Big E's just not ready. I don't mean that from a personal perspective or that he doesn't have the mental capacity to handle being champion. I mean that from a character perspective, that they just need to get him the F away from the New Day. Stop associating him with the New Day. Every time that we start to maybe move away and go, he's his own man, they draw him right back in and suck him right back into the New Day pancake making nonsense. So the sooner they get him away and consistently away from the New Day, the better. They just can't help themselves, can they? Every time there's a pay-per-view, they seem to find each other and the cameras get on them, and it's just a bad idea if you're trying to make Big E a big deal and make him a credible future champion. But that's what I would do with Big E. I would wait until the character has developed more and developed in a individualized, differentiated way, not as like an extension, an arm of the New Day. And I think that's key number one, right? So I think that would be my main focus, and probably maybe even wait till after WrestleMania. He's got a full year to cash it in, which means all the way through next July. And that gives you a lot of time. Maybe he'll cash it in on the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. That'd be cool, right? But what I would do is if I was WWE, this is my final comment on this, is I would not have him carry the briefcase around all the time, reminding us every second of every day that he's the Money in the Bank briefcase holder. Because not that I think it would become obnoxious, although Big E might find a way to do it with gyrating and maybe keeping pancakes in the briefcase. I think it would start to exit the minds of fans as they're not seeing it on a weekly basis, that when he does cash in, you haven't seen the briefcase in many, many months, and you're like, oh my God, that's right, he's the briefcase holder. I don't know why. Is there some kind of unwritten rule that the briefcase holder, the briefcase winner of the Money in the Bank, has to carry it around with him or her everywhere? I mean, especially down to the ring. It doesn't make sense. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much for supporting this show, for calling in and leaving voicemails, which, by the way, you can do at 518-952-0247. And, of course, your emails that you guys take a lot of time to write in and give us your thoughts. It's much appreciated. This is probably the longest mailbag show that we've done thus far. And that's not to be unexpected, considering the fact that we are out of the pandemic era, the Thunderdome era. We are officially back into business as usual for the most part, probably not without hiccups. And we're coming off of a pay-per-view with big returns. So guys, please feel free to call back again, email the show. We do this every single I record it Wednesday night. You don't see it till Thursday morning. And I know Wrestling Nostalgia is a little bit late too for those of you on Patreon, but I'm working on it, I promise. Alrighty, everybody, thank you so much for supporting the show. Give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts if you get a moment. And as always, I will talk to you next time.